Be more grind, rise, shine through the struggle. Black dollar circulate, flexing muscle. Politics and biz building walls like bricks. Motown soul rap mixed in the fix. Tiny cover spitting truth, microphone holder. Past the noise scene, watch growth in the folder. Black biz bright spotlight in the dark. Hustling hard, lighting sparks in the park. Be more new, where we breaking glass ceilings. All black everything, income healing. Donnie Glover, flip the script, let's go. Black Wall Street, roadmap, be more flow. Real talk, stock rise, dreams ain't looking hollow. Blueprints, handshakes, enemies wallow. Baltimore kings, queens, crown on the throne. Legacy built, stone by stone. Headlines, deadlines, moves in the background. Politics, money clips, elevate the town. Black beard strategists, wealth can't be missed. Twist the plot, make the whole world twist. Be more news, success we inhaling. Victories, iron rest, no detailing. Donnie Glover, rise to shine, let's glow. Focused on green, black Wall Street in tow.
First name's Donnie, last name's Glover. In it to win it for the long haul, baby. Very important show tonight. We've been blessed to have a legend in the building, the one and only Topcatz. And we've been talking about indigenous history for a long time here. I remember first learning about some of the things that have come about. And it's really caused me to piece things together. The things we were told as children, grandma, Native American, great-grandfather. And then you start looking into the mirror, into your own story. And you remember what your grandmother said, what your great-grandfather said. And things start being revealed to you. One brother, Horace, came on the show and talked about how the ancestors were speaking to him. I feel that way when I go to New Orleans. I feel it's more than what you see. It's like you feel the ancestors calling you, telling you to wake up, telling you to look around, see the evidence of who we are, where we come from. And that's the question we've posed on the show. Who are we, these people? Last night, I heard a term that I hadn't quite heard before as it relates to melanated people. The brother Horace, he said he got red in his skin. And then you think back to the movies we've watched, Cowboys and Indians. And more it's become clear that the story we've been told has holes in it. Something ain't right. Some things don't add up. Some things do. We've been talking about the mound pyramids, Monk's Mound, all across North America. Never paid them any mind. There's one right over here in East Baltimore. I think Patterson Park, Collington Square, a mound pyramid made of grass and steps. You got to step back to see it. Some of these things are right in our face. I remember the first well-known author guest that we had on the topic of indigenous Americans talked about some of these things that are right here in our faces. How America has more pyramids than Africa. Who would have thought to ever ask that question? And so while many of the people are younger than me, I'm 60. I don't think Topcatz is anywhere near 60. But he ain't no spring chicken either. But it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter the hours you put in. It matters what you put in those hours. And he's brought some things out. Mike Lane first said it. And I actually heard Legendary Topcatz allude to it in a tape I watched today. I didn't want to watch too much. I wanted to give him an original interview. Now I'm based on what I saw, what I think I saw, what I think I heard, to give him a fair shot to speak his piece. But as an older person, and with this new information, of course, we're dealing with cognitive dissonance. You've been believing this is light the whole time, and then come to find out that this, what you thought was the light, is not the light. We thought this was the light. We thought this way. I am open. I am open to common sense. I'm open to some theories. I'm open to some new constructs. We've historically followed, I'm guilty, following the Afrocentric model. With Africa at the center of the world. I grew up in that school. I grew up thinking that Marcus Garvey, W.B. Du Bois, J.A. Rogers, Dr. Ben Yakinen, Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, Tony Browder, thinking those scholars were speaking the same truth. We're speaking my truth. We're speaking the truth of my people. Topcatz raises questions. Who are we? Are we Moors? Are we Hebrew Israelites? Are we indigenous? Are we all three? Are we something else? Couple of people, just giving it to you. Some people brought in some intergalactical stuff. Lo and behold, just before the show, I was watching a little bit of, in between my homework, of course, of Ice Cube in War of the Worlds. Kind of took me to the mindset of Avatar. We're so dependent on electricity, on the power grid, nowadays on computers. Can you imagine all of that just being taken away in a swoop? No electronics, no computer, no cell phone, having to live off the land like our ancestors. There's a series on Apple TV, C. Whole 2 million people or so, whatever's left of humanity, and none of them can see. Well, most of them can't see. People who can see are a scourge, are different. And it just gets you to thinking, one, how much we need to be grateful for, and two, how much we just don't know. When you look at South America, it fits right up into Africa, right up to the west coast of Africa. For me, that seems like there was one landmass one time. And if there were people on both, when they split, then they cousins. I don't know, it just makes sense to me. I'm going to try to catch up with, I guess, Legendary Topcatz. This is your show. We're here. He gave me some pause. I need to run and get some cream for my coffee. I wouldn't have been too much good without my coffee. I'd have had to make it. But I get the impression this is going to be a powerful show. We've talked about all ready for you, big brother. So we've talked about the history, and now we're going to be educated some more to learn more about who we are, what we are, and we are honored to present to you the legendary Big Chief Topcatz. And although Mike Lane and I did have come to some differences, what have you, we are honored to have you, man. How you doing?
Peace. What's up with it, OG?
Man, we are honored to have you. You got so many fans here, man. You got fans all over the world.
Turn up, man. I'm humble. I'm blessed. All praise to the ancestors.
All praises to the ancestors. Hey, look, I really didn't know how to prepare because I wanted to be fair. I am a journalist, but I'm a student too, and I'm open to learn. I only watched the opening just to get a sense. Are you and Jabari?
Okay.
So I only watched the first 20 minutes or so. And what I don't think he gave you was a fair chance. Because if I'm going to prove to you that Afrocentrism is the core, and I bring to you somebody else's notes, somebody else's book, then I really haven't proven anything. I've just brought you some references.
Right.
On the other side, from an indigenous perspective, that seems to be the strength is the oral tradition. I agree, the oral tradition is very strong. That's how we know what we know. But that's where I don't think he gave you a fair chance to listen and understand that there could be a different way. I'm open to it. Who can prove who was where? Maybe it did start here in Africa. I mean, in America.
Yeah. Well, that debate right there. Believe it or not, I was a rookie. That was my rookie year. They brought me in to basically lose. You know, I'm a big boxing fan. That's why I had transitioned from the boxing where I'm over here. So psychological warfare and, you know, setting up and understanding opponents' strengths and weaknesses. I know that's why my first round, when he went, it was basically like I already knew his playbook. But I actually got the credit for winning. So on the polls, I won on both polls, and they replayed it this year, and I won by even larger margin. So yeah, I knocked out the champion in my rookie year. Yeah.
How did you? Was you said it was your grandma who gave you the stories?
No, it actually was my aunt who started me off. And so I always play video clips of her, you know, teaching me how to do my genealogy because, and she also saying that she was 17. So if you would have watched, I guess after we do the interview, you can go back and watch the whole video. So it's supporting there where Shanetta asks, how do you know that you're Indian and not African? And so I don't want to tell you. I let my aunt speak, and she said she was 17 years old when her grandmother made her go into the family cemetery, write down the names, and gave her the notes. She still had the notes today, and she's in her 70s. She almost 70 years old. And so this had been a tradition in the family. And she chose me, and it's a picture of my second great grandma that I always show. And my family were, she let me know that we were chiefs of the tribe, 1855. Our signature is on signing for the land here in Texas on the oldest reservation in Texas. So me knowing that, you know, that's why I teach foundation. Start at the beginning. Who are you? Let's take away the history and become my historians because we've been taught world history. Or someone told us we had hidden history, unknown history, but 95% of the people you ask if they have an Indian grandparent or if they had these stories in the home, they would say yes. And so once we leave outside the homes and we have these great men like you spoke of earlier, Dr. Ben, Dr. Clark, Asa Hill, I mean, Ivan Van Serk, the list goes on. And you know, they wasn't saying these things, but today we find out that they are Leonard Jeffries. His family was Powhatan. He said his mom used to ask him to speak about that information. We have Renoka Rashidi, who said he grew up Cherokee. His family told him he was Cherokee. When he got older, he got into the African paradigm. Kaba, Booker T. Coleman, his mom and dad's side. And so now we're hearing these, you know, master teachers speak about it, but there was a time where they had us in a space of Afrocentrism as they were trying to, you know, build that paradigm up. And they actually did a good job because it's not until now that we're breaking those curses.
One name that came up And this one you really caught me leaning. The guy Herskovitz.
Okay.
That some of the original Afrocentrics were
Yeah.
funded from
Yeah.
outside of the community.
Right. So I mean, I don't know any who was funded inside. You know, if we go back to the Harlem Renaissance, whether it been Marcus Garvey, hold on, well, I can't show him here. But you know, Marcus Garvey, we had the commandment keepers at the time, you know, with the Hebrew Israelites started out from, which Garvey was a big, you know, influence in that. Where you had Matthew, Rabbi Matthew, you had Josiah Ford, you had these people create the commandment keepers. Well, Garvey was from Jamaica, Rabbi Matthew was from St. Kitts. So a lot of these people came, Cecil, that ran the African Brotherhood, a lot of these people came from the islands and came in the Harlem Renaissance, giving us identities which we had already had. And so that influence in 1923, you have eugenics. They had a sister program funded by the NRC, and Franz Boas is gonna get the funding. Well, he had a student, Melville Herskovitz, who was into, at the time they were he was into going back to craniometrics and you know, wide nose, big lips. When we hear those, they come from Melville Herskovitz's work. And so he wanted to see what was the identity of the people here. So he had people like Zora Neale Hurston, who was another one of his students, him and Franz Boas at Columbia University, who took him to Harlem, and they went to schools there and they measured children to see if they were, you know, Indian, Negro, Indian, white, or black. And he wanted to prove that. Now his record showed that that we were more African, because before I start this out, OG, we got to understand one thing, that there was never a person that looked like us that came to us first and told us that we were from Africa and had culture in Africa. This whole concept comes from Melville Herskovitz. Melville Herskovitz is the person that said that the Negroes in America do have a culture that cultures in Africa. So his life work was to create this paradigm of us being in Africa. There's no scholar ever, or historian, or speaker that ever came before Melville Herskovitz and told us that Africa was our culture. And so from there, we'll see him work down. He get African Studies. He's the founder of African Studies. Now, the sister company of African Studies is how we know John Henry Clark. Now, John Henry Clark come out of the Schomburgs. He was back then with Kwame Nkrumah, and those Africans were coming over back then to Harlem and places like this, going out churches and mingling with our people. Which Kwame Nkrumah, he was taught by a guy that worked at in North Carolina for 40 years. His name escaped me right now, but it'll come to me. They were that was Anna, a government program that he came through, and he taught at Livingston College. But in John Henry Clark and Linda Jeffries created a sister company to African Studies, and this is during the student movement. They said that people that they wanted to tell their own story, they didn't want YT people telling African stories, and so that's what they in 1969 in a newspaper article in New York Times. It's called Back to Africa in Spirit, OG, and that is from Dr. John Henry Clark, who says he learned from Garvey and those before him who wanted to physically move the people through repatriation. We go back to the Sierra Leone Company, the ACS, American Colonization Society. Even when they didn't get business, they used Henry Highland Gardner to create the African Colonization Society. Same company, they just put a black face on it, like African Studies did with Dr. John Henry Clark, to make us accept it, feel like our people can get us to accept it. So we come up into 1860. He wanted, and he learned from Garvey and them, who physically wanted to move move us. He said he'll go back to Africa in spirit, which means that you keep our bodies in America, but they wanted to take our minds psychologically and into Africa, and that's where they created the afrocentrism paradigm. That was 1969.
So one of the things you mentioned, I heard the name come up, James Fortin.
Yeah, shout out James Fortin.
Now he had a son, James Fortin. He had a sail company, to my understanding, in Philadelphia. Right. He was not enslaved. He was a free man.
Great person. He was one of the he was the richest
black man in Philadelphia.
Man. Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Now James Fortin had a son. Now James Fortin was an American patriot, to my understanding.
Right.
His son wanted to go to Africa, and James Fortin said, "Hell no, we right here. This our land."
Okay, now, okay, you mean Paul Cuffey? Now they all ran in the same circle. Now Paul Cuffey have a son, Paul Cuffey Jr. His family was Wampanoag Indians, and so it was Paul Cuffey Jr. Same story though, richest man in his day. He come out of Cuddy Hunt. His real name is Captain Paul Slocum. They call him Paul Cuffey. They said his daddy came from Africa, but he going back and forth to Africa, driving boats, building boats, teaching people in Martha's Vineyard how to build, should build. He was an excellent welder. I just came from Connecticut, the largest maritime museum in the world in the U.S. And you know, I got some good history over there. Also, I got the records of him from Martha's Vineyard as well. So, but yeah, you meant Paul Cuffey. Now, James Fortin was also with them. Now, the things you said, he was wealthy. He did have a lot of money inside of Philadelphia. And he had two daughters, Harriet and what was the other one named? Because they ended up going down south to teach in the Penn School in the Port Royal expedition in 1865 after the Civil War, after they occupied the lands in the Sea Islands of South Carolina. Yeah, his daughters went down there.
So I want to understand your understanding of immigration. So when we go and leave the U.S., like you said, we have gone to Nova Scotia. I think it was the Civil War, was it Revolutionary War. After the Revolutionary War, the British sent expatriates, black or melanated expatriates to Nova Scotia. And from there, they were sent to Liberia, to Sierra Leone. The thing that always got me about Liberia is, why would a black man from America go there and start naming stuff George Washington and Thomas Jefferson? I will not claim to be the most scholarly, but that right there, it's like, why am I take that there?
Because it was colonies. It was all about commerce. So the whole story that we speak about this timeline, especially when they put it at 1492, is all about commerce. So we see European commercial empires who are looking to establish themselves in the colonies here. And we'll see that in 1606 with the Virginia Company of London. Then we get the Plymouth Company, the Massachusetts Bay Company, things like this.
It's like British East India Company, similar thing.
Yeah, the British East Indian Company. First, it was the Dutch. The Dutch was
Dutch East India Company.
Yeah, it was the Dutch West Indies Company, and that was, you know, they actually initiated the first domestic slave trade here with the Mohegans and the Mohawk Indians. 1836, William Keith was over the West Indies Company, serving as a governor. He chose to go to war, and he put the Indians against each other, the Mohawks against the Mohegans, and it was a big rebellion after that. They slaughtered a lot of people. So, but yeah, that was the beginning era. But it was something you said though, OG, in the beginning. when you had started off, it was something you had said.
Well, let's see. The Pan-Africanism was interesting. Who we are, who other people have told us we are. We have the oral tradition to fall back on. I don't know, but I got a $1 trillion question for you.
Okay.
Did we have ships?
Yes. Like I said, I just left the largest maritime museum in the United States. And so I mean, they have old ships from back then that sailed the Atlantic all the way up to World War ships that fought in World War II. So any type of ship, yeah. So I just left a place in Connecticut, in New England. So I did a New England tour, Pennsylvania, Jersey, Connecticut, Boston. Went up in areas like that and got a lot of their history that's not talked about. But that's where the Maritime actually took place. So if we notice here, we have Bristol, Connecticut. Bristol is one of the largest ports that's going to take place in this transatlantic story. Now we have Bristol, Connecticut here. We also have Bristol, Rhode Island, which sits off the Atlantic. These places will play more of they will have more so they use the timber to ship build out of Connecticut. They got their timber out of Connecticut, but the ports that they used was the Bristol that came out of Rhode Island. Now you have Bristol in Europe, but they don't get their maritime in order coming down to the late 1800s, going into late 1800s, going into the 20th century. And so I just left Europe about 2 weeks ago, and these are things that I picked up out there. Not only that, but I spoke with David Elches, the guy that created slavevoyages.org, and he agreed that the fastest ship came out of New England. The maritime and shipbuilding in America would far preceded any other in the world, and that a lot of the manufacturers and warehouses actually did come up from the upper colonies, what we call today New England.
So I guess my question, let me put it a different way. In the Americas, did we travel out? Because the story painted to us is that Africa came here from the West of Africa into Brazil. You can coast into Brazil. Did we go out?
All right, so we'll start it like this here. Every story of every people we hear, when they say they're migrating, they're walking. I think that's really important. Whether it be from the Hebrews who say they walked out of Egypt. Now I ain't said tripping, but we just going. That's what the book say. The Native Americans say they walked across the ice bridge. Oh, gee, how did the Africans say that they left out of Africa?
Walk.
They walked. They walked around the whole planet, including large bodies of waters. But there was a people in the world who had a science of shipbuilding and maritime. They understood the seas, the currents, and the routes. The same routes that we use today, naval, military, cruise, are the same routes that they used from back in the day. After the fall of the Bronze Age and the opening of the Iron Age, a lot of that information went underground, and they created these secret orders to hide the information and the knowledge. Now, what is my proof that we went overseas? Well, Egypt itself was a colony of America. The gods of Egypt they served gods that came from Tameri, land of the gods, such as Hatshepsut. Such as when we go inside Hatshepsut tomb, we find pineapples, we find grapes, we find corn. Hatshepsut was known for sending sending out 3-year voyages that took 3 years for them to return. And they will return with this. That's why they find the tobacco in the mummies. That's why they found the cocaine in the mummies. We are the innovators who are going around the world creating colonies. So our story here in Americas is what they use for organized religion around the world. Why do I say that? Because all of these religions, they're the person that they're worshiping is a resurrection deity, where it be Osiris with Kemet. He's a resurrect. He died and came back. Now we see a lot of people with those attributes. So a lot of people get down on the Christians about Jesus and say, "Well, Jesus, he has the same birthday as these other gods." Well, that's because they all have the same characteristics and they're all the same people, but they're coming from a person. What is a resurrection deity? Well, they call it a green man. What is a green man? That's why Osiris depicted as green. Here we have Bacall, he depicted as green. And you're at Westminster Abbey, there's a green man of Jesus with the sprouts coming out. What is that? That means agriculture. So, and we find even in the Bible, people like Tammuz, when you go into the Sumerian, they're weeping. Why they're weeping? The women are weeping deities, the Black Madonnas, they're weeping. They're weeping because April showers bring May flowers. This is harvest and this is agriculture. So once we got the agriculture and taught people agriculture, they didn't have to follow herds. They didn't have to follow the animals to eat in a nomadic way. They were able to use the land, use the resources from the land, and stay in one spot long enough to create something as a pyramid, as a mound, or as a community of for our people to live in. And so I think that's something that needs to be said. One more thing, Scotland. Scotland is real big on TikTok now with the youngsters. They're saying they found their American cousins. Well, we share a lot of surnames with them. Not only that, in Scotland, there's a place called the Rising Temple. The Rising Temple was created by the St. Clair family. The St. Clair family is who they talk about in the movie The Da Vinci Code. Now, the movie is about a bloodline that goes back to Christ. They're saying that Christ is a real figure. Now, the St. Clairs, Hughes de Payne's, the first Knight of Templar, Grand Master of the Knights of Templar, is going to settle in Scotland. He's going to marry into the St. Clair family. Henry St. Clair built what is called the Rising Chapel. Inside the Rising Chapel, we find cactus, we find Indian corn. And also, he's known to take a voyage to Canada. Now, the Templar flag and the Mi'kmaq Indians' war flag are identical. Another indication that our signs is around the world. One more I'll leave you with is the purple people. Now, who they call the purple people? The Phoenicians. Who were the Phoenicians? The Olmec. A lot of people say that the Mende were the Olmec. Well, that's BS. And no disrespect to Ivan Van Sertima, but in his book, he never cited his sources. Meaning, when he said that a pharaoh from the 25th dynasty came to America, he never named the pharaoh. When he said Abu Bakr left from Timbuktu and came here with 300 ships, no one never told us where they went. He brought up a lot of these facts. No one never went to go check. I checked, and we have no receipts on them. But yeah, to show you have what's called the purple people. And here they went and created the first highly civilization in Europe called the Minoans. So you find the Minoans. The Minoans are going to have colonies. You're going to go into the Mycenaean era. And then you're going to go into what's called the Greek area. But you have these Phoenician colonies such as Tyre, Blows. These are the people who Egypt are outsourcing their greatness for. They're using them for their naval powers. They're using them for their wood to build their coffins, their papyrus. So the people that saying the metal netter and they were the first to write, well, you had to get papyrus from people out of Byblos. You have Tyre, that's where Europea comes from, where Europe gets her name. So these things, well, they're known as the purple people. This purple dye is also found in the Americas and commonly used by the Mayans.
Is this indigo?
Not the indigo. The indigo will serve a different purpose. And you'll have the Mingos coming to South Carolina and take over that trade, which would be Huguenots. That'll be later in the 1700s. But you also have Mayan blue. The Mayan blue that they mined out of Georgia and took back to the Yucatan, because the migration doesn't come from Mexico or the Yucatan to here. It comes from the southeastern states, whether it be Texas, Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi, Georgia, and Florida, and it goes down into the Yucatan. So like they said, corn was cultivated in the Yucatan, but the Yucatan is it's a rainforest. You can't grow. That's why they had to use science to modify the ground for it to be able to grow this. But it originally came out of central Mississippi, and that's where we see the mounds spring up with the triangle from the Denver Mounds to Okmulgee and Macon to Monk's Mound that you've been talking about for a couple shows.
Okay, I got a question for you. I've been waiting to ask you this all day, and I mean, it's not that it's not obvious. Do you believe in God?
I believe in the higher power. I believe in the creator. That's greater than myself. So yeah, I say yeah.
So in from your perspective, religion has been used to pimp us.
Yeah, religion is organized and it's intentional. So the allegories and different things. It was. But we had what was called spiritual systems, and we did venerate people. That's what we see, what they call free energy building, old world building that they use as our capital building and different things of this nature. Like the building in Philadelphia, what is it? They said associated with Mother's Day or something, but it's a huge building. I think it's I can't remember what it is. It's an old building. It sits right in the middle of the street. You have to go through the intersect associated with I gotta find my Philly video to bring it up. But these old world buildings, or these free energy buildings that they talk about, these were places that we wanted to venerate or honor. And what happened when the European powers came in, they used the system called fusion. So they used the gods that we already had and found out when they got here that we were already practicing these things. Like the Quiche Mayans got into it with the conquistadors because they had what was called Hun Pu, who in the book of Acts, they said Jesus hung from a tree. Well, Hun Pu, when you look in the book called the Papa Wool, he was hung from a tree and resurrected. And so they saw nothing different in these cultures that they brought. They brought the Virgin Mary. Well, they already had Ixchel, the Mayans. They already had Ixchel, and the Aztec had what is called Tenassi. And they fused those gods together and created Lady Guadalupe. 1536 with Juan Diego, who's also a melanated, she's a melanated deity. I don't know if you can see it. Do I have my picture? Thought I had a picture with me. I don't know what. All right, it's cool. Okay. Here we go. So this is me right here, and this is what they call Lady Guadalupe, but she's Ixchel or Tenassi. The sun. Can you see it, OG?
No, sir.
Okay, it's not showing on your side. Okay. All right, I'll take it down. But yeah, so it's a system called fusion that they went through, and they end up fusing the gods that we already venerated here to fit their organized and create an organized religion from them.
One of the things I learned when I was researching Black Wall Street was the connection, the interconnection. I'm in Baltimore. We mid-Atlantic. Some cats in Baltimore don't even want to go to DC. So that's a whole different tribe. They like go there. Baltimore might be more club music, different tribes.
Right.
But I'm a cat. I go to DC. I love DC. I go to New York, go to wherever. And each tribe has their own rhythm, own music. And I was going somewhere with that. I think I just got sidetracked. How do we bring us together? We Moors, we Hebrew Israelites, we indigenous. We don't know who the hell we are. I do know. Now, they can call God whatever they want, but I know there's a God. I tell you this because I wouldn't have made it to 60 if it weren't something saving me. Because I did everything possible.
Yeah.
Including
to not be right here today. I feel you, OG. I do. How do we bring us together?
You said something has come out that I've learned, and I never posed this question to myself. It wasn't you I heard it from. Somebody came on, and I appreciate you for bridging us together. But they raised the question about our connection to Africa, and what I appreciate about what you're doing is you're willing to listen. I think if elders listen to you and give you respect, we might learn something. And you have also, to me, without saying, have made it clear that it's okay not to know. But when information comes, be open to it. I can't prove that I'm directly connected to Africa beyond what somebody told me.
Yeah, they make you and 12.5 million other people the same. Yeah. That's what we have in common. We don't know. These aren't stories we got from the house. These are stories we got when we got into society. These are the stories we got when we went to these schools. Propaganda that was put on us. 1969, you had, even before then, these people were giving out a lot of money. But it was a brother that was on the show. You had Brother Tavis on. Now, Tavis was on the show with this guy who said in 1969, when he left college at 19 years old, they had took out $10 million and they were giving out grants to these young students to go back and basically Africanize their communities. So he got $70,000 grant. Don't owe nobody no money, but you just go back and teach them how I taught you. Push this indoctrination on them. And so we had a lot of that. And I spoke with Dr. Phil Valentine, and and I spoke to him about them taking the money. And how can y'all tell us that these are our enemies, or that they set forth this when you guys took the money? Y'all had the power to create the curriculums. Y'all created the curriculums, brought it to us as hidden history or forgotten history. Y'all put all us in one pot under the black term as they allied. Judge Joe Brown told me he was there when they coined the term black. They voted on black. He was there. Nation of Islam, it's a few other people. He was there when the Pan-Africans came in the 1970s and wanted to link the black movement up with the Pan-African movement because they were two separate entities at the time. These type of things where people intentionally knew what they were doing, but they were being
paid.
Yeah, they've been paid a lot of money.
I know the question. The question has been raised. What did we get from Africa? And let me tell you, I sat in my room looking at the walls. I never thought of that question. I never thought of that. I think of a lot of things. I never thought of that question. It made me think, to say the least. It made me think, other than intrinsically, And that's where me and the young man Mike kind of got us straight. He said, "What did Africa ever do for you?" And I had to think about it. Now we think in our modern 21st century mind that we get our dance, our rhythm, our swag, our music. I did want to ask you who your favorite rapper is, but we and now I gotta think, I gotta be willing to accept that funk, the blues, is more American than we really realize. Because I'm thinking music back then, they had what? String instruments, maybe the drums.
We had trumpets. We had everything we have right now. If we can go back to the walls of the Mayans and we see them playing trumpets, we see them playing saxophones and these instruments, flutes and things of this nature back then. So that culture right there is our ancestors left it on the wall. You know, today in the South we have something called Battle of the Band. That's really popular. Yeah, Battle of the Band.
HBCUs.
They turn it up, and they really and so that's our culture. That's why when I came, I think the message that I had resonated with a lot of people because I told them the culture that you live in today is the culture you've been living in. That's Indian culture. That's indigenous culture. People call it country. They used to laugh at me how I talk. I'm country. But it's indigenous. We live off the land. We own our land. We got land in our family since 1836 with a historical marker on it. 37 with a historical marker from Texas on it because Texas was created 1836. So, and we were pillars in that. South Carolina, we have a monument. East Side DeKalb, in Atlanta, we have a monument. So our family still have a lot of this land in our family today. We have these family cemeteries that's old, and this land been in our family over 200 years. I play a tape of my auntie always talking about doing the land session, transferring the land from one generation to the next. We hadn't had one over 100 years, and so they were trying to take the property, and they made her go back 6 generations, the state of Louisiana, because they feel like us as people that look like us don't know our family or history. But again, like I told you, her grandma had her at 17. It's been ordered. She was taught. Her great grandma was taught that way, and so she gave it to her, and everyone passes it down. Some kind of way the ball got in my hand, and I wanted a touchdown. I wanted to score. Yeah.
So we find out on this show about Walter Plecker. I learned that all my life, I'm 60, one drop rule.
1924.
Back to what I was thinking at 20, 30 years old. Yeah, boy, one drop of black blood, I'm black. You're, but it's so much deeper than that.
Oh, yeah. A lot of things happened then. In 1924, you had the Racial Integrity Act, and that's the one drop. What Walter Plecker did affected those that were just in his, because he was over the Virginia vital certificate. So if you were inside of Virginia at that time, and then plus he went after targeted families. So it didn't involve everyone. Now we do get the Jordan case where they say all in Virginia, where they say all non-reservational Indians are classified as Negro. Now we do have that, but with Walter Plecker, that was 1924. He ran with some people called the what was they? The White League, and this is one of the guys, a guy named Ernest Seville Cox. He's the guy that wrote a book called White America. He wanted to repatriate Negroes from America to Africa. And in his book, White America, he said there will arise a Moses of the Negro race who will lead them to the land of freedom, meaning from America to Africa. Guess who that was?
I'm scared to ask.
Marcus, who they call him Moses. Messiah God.
That's where the Messiah.
They called him Moses. Yeah, that's why they called him Moses.
You saying he was duped?
Nah, he wasn't duped. He knew exactly what he was doing. Marcus Garvey ran. He was a timekeeper on a plantation in man, where my boy Carimio from? Yeah, he was a timekeeper on a plantation. He come from a wealthy family. There's a lecture with Dr. John Henry Clark speaking, saying Marcus Garvey come from he was born with a silver spoon. His family were wealthy. A lot of them hid their wealth. A lot of those families changed their names. Even the guy that started the Pan-African Conference in 1897, Henry Sylvester Williams, well, they lied about where he was from, and because they were hiding that these people family were actually plantation owners. So the slave master and the plantation owner, they trying to tell us this the white boy, and the whole time it's them. The slave master looked exactly like them. The king of these places looked exactly like them. Facts. So yeah, no white boy ain't did nothing. Prove it. What's his name? And can't none of them tell us. And they so yeah. I'm bad. My bad. I'm bad.
No, you're doing great. I gotta go to something. And some people, if you're watching the show, we have the legendary Big Chief Topcatz. And this is a question. You think I've asked some questions that are important to me? I'm just gonna go straight to it. When I watched your presentation, and a lot of us, we struggle with it, the whole Jesus thing. When we look at what the church, because one of the entities you go into is the Amish. And there's some of us, the Amish were good, they were nice, they weren't as bad. But I'm looking at how Christianity, and you ripped Richard Allen a whole new hind parts. I love God, but we have been played. They have played with our minds, our psyches, our souls, our spirits. Tell me about this Jesus thing. How did they use the church is used so diabolically on our community to reshape our thinking? Help me out. What do you think of the church?
Okay.
And do you like some good gospel music? I want to know, have you ever had some good gospel music, some good old soul food, and went to sleep?
I say this right here. The best naturally born, gifted singers that represent, I'm talking about the sound, the vibration that represents this America, this land we stand on, you're going to find them groomed out of the church. If they ain't come out the church, I don't want to hear him. Yeah, especially we talking about country soul, we talking about blues. We talking about, if they ain't come out the church, I don't want to hear it. You hear me, OG? I don't even want to hear it. Because that's where the culture, see, a lot of people, they feel like, they took things or they gave us. Nah, man. That's us. That's soul. Ain't nothing like, man, real. Let's go back to man, from Aretha and them to man,
I thought you was gonna start with like Mahalia Jackson.
That's who I was thinking of. I'm singing of the song that will become heaven. Yeah, I was thinking of that, Mahalia Jackson.
But you're saying beyond the music, the vibration. Tell me about the vibration.
Well, right now, the vibration that's moving the world on this indigenous is the Southern soul, the renaissance of the Southern soul. Something that us in the, as country folk, we practice for as trail ride, for as line dancing, and that's, you going from the Carolinas, you going to Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee. I mean, you can name it. Everybody know how to swing out. They know how to 1-2 step. And this was our culture. If you go back to the cowboy era, that's what they did. If we go back to the Harlem Renaissance. You see them dressed in the feathers at the Cotton Club, and they're spinning around, and they're and they spinning, and you bringing it in. You know, the kid and play even with the leg lock and all of that. These things, and we did the couple dances, and these are the things they imitate at the powwows today. But that directly come from our culture, and so today with everyone boots on the ground and they stumping OG, and the earth is responding. A lot of people are looking for their family and their genealogy right now. They're saying their ancestor's name. So this re-emerging in this motion that we're getting right now, this is spiritual, and it's coming back through Southern soul, where you have hip hop and the drill culture, the black culture, the culture that they created for us, molded for us to fill in. Now we got all that violence. Now they coming with this love music that just make you feel happy, make you want to dance. You feel it in your soul. I'm in quick story for our land. I'm in Jamaica this year, and they was doing karaoke. And so the guy said, all right, this is the last song, we leaving. He played Boys to Me and End of the Road. So I go up and I asked him, did he know the song Boots on the Ground? I tipped him, shook his hand, walked off. He turned it on. The whole place went crazy. And I just wanted to check. I said 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And even the Jamaicans knew the dance. Even they was in it. And it looked like the scene in Sinners. Blew the roof out of the place. Yeah, but that's that culture that's sweeping, and it's a spiritual one. And it's an ancestor, because a lot of things are happening for this paradigm that's coming of us claiming, and some of us reclaiming our indigenous birthright here.
The most important question I could ask you is, how do we got 70% single mother households. We also struggle with mass incarceration. America is 5% of the world's population, but has 25% of the people behind the walls. I know where I live at, 21217 in Baltimore, most of the people returning from prison come back to my zip code. Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, we got a similar demon, mass incarceration. 30% of people in state prisons, black man, melanated man. In federal prison, 40%. And we're only 15, 20%, what have you, of the population. How do we get back to where we need to get?
Foundation. My message was to get the doctrines out and us go back home. Everyone start over. Malcolm said something powerful. He said, when you come in, leave your religion at the door. But man, that was hard for him to do. Why? Because they was already religious. So we need a system that you can keep everything that's about yourself, but you can still find a common ground. So what I did was, okay, I'm not really worried about what you believe or what God you praise, or where you at in your journey. My question to you is, how much do you know about yourself? Do you know who your great grandparents are? Do you know where your family migrations come from? So how far back in your genealogy did any of your family fight in the Civil War? Do you have veterans in your family? Anybody made contributions? You could tell me world history. We studied under these scholars 20, 30 years. They told us all the books to buy. All of us bought these books, but we still are missing the centerpiece, and that's who we are. So through that, by showing people the power of going back in their genealogy and learning their story, their family lineage, and them having the story, that has empowered people more. I've seen that empower so many people to the point that it's more of us than it is Pan-Africans. And when I first came on the scene, the Pan-Africans ran it. This was their world. They bullied they were the bullies of the block. And I came out and I said, line them up one by one until it went no more. Until we're here today. I'm on here with OG Donnie, and it's more of us than it's more of them now, because a lot of them, even if they're FBA and these new groups that are picking it up and pushing it, their message still came from me, their foundation. Who are you? You want reparations? Well, that's a legal matter. Can you, if you're going into court, you need evidence. You have to prove what happened to you. We can't just say, oh, we were black and slaves from Africa. You're gonna have to prove who that slave was, prove who the enslaver was. What tribe did they come from? What year did they leave Africa? All of these questions that these leaders, Pan-African master teachers taught us, they gave us the offense on OG, but they never gave us the defense to protect ourselves in case somebody countered us. If they act, okay, I'm a slave from Africa. Okay, what part of Africa? They didn't give us the answers. They just gave us a generalized curriculum that I think they did a poor job on. And instead of collectively putting us all together, it's impossible because we don't have the same parents. If you don't have the same mother and father, then you don't have the same story. So everyone is unique. We have our own story. We have to trace back starting from ourselves, and we have to act like we lost our keys. You're not going to go back 5,000 years ago to the pyramid builders, the mound builders, to look for your keys. If I lose my keys, I'm going to go back to the last place I was at, start from where I'm at, and I'm going to work my way back. That's what we have to do in our genealogy and learn who we are versus what we are. Again, I say this in closing. They taught us the history, not knowing that one day they would have to fight. And that's how people like brothers like Jabbar, shout out to Jabbar, very intelligent brother. But I had a strategy that I knew could beat him because I knew that how they were taught, they were only taught offense and they weren't taught defense. So
did he ever, and I didn't watch it, did he ever connect with his indigenous roots? He came out swinging.
Yeah, he have indigenous roots, but for his African, nah, he couldn't prove it.
He came out and said,
3-0.
He said that only 2 to 3% of melanated people have indigenous roots, and he sounded like Skip Gates at Harvard. Because how do you know 2 to 3% of all these black people? How do you know that? How did he know that?
Where's that information coming from? John Hopkins University or something? Yeah, it's coming from one of these institutions. And so
his receipts were Western receipts.
When we dealing with the institutions, we went up against them. So like I said, Skip Gates, since you brought him up, right now they have the slave voyages. This is what gives them credit to say that the transatlantic slave trade happened. It's a database on what they use to say where they're getting their numbers from. I can't show it on here, but it's cool. Next time I come on my show, I'll make sure I can share my screen. And I want to say,
I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say this guy, he's 85 years old. He's been studying since 1969. This project is 20 years old, and we went in there and defeated him. And respectfully, he said that this is an ongoing project, and they're relying on scholars and other people to help out. And the information that I spoke about earlier, for us, did we leave this and that? And I said the transatlantic slave trade happened here, leaving here to the West Indies and the Caribbean islands in England. Well, he admitted it. He also admitted that in 1870, on the census, there were less than 1% of Africans living in North America, meaning the population that came after the Civil War was the population of indigenous people already in America.
So we weren't descendants of slaves, we were descendants of prisoners of war.
Not at all. They don't believe that. Even when you go overseas, I see you are traveling, you've been around the world. That's one of my things too. I heard a famous quote. It said, life is a book. And those who don't travel, unfortunately, only read one page. And so when I seen you had been around the world, and I'm like, those experiences I'm the same way. The things that I teach about, I go to the places because I want to know. I want to be able to document and record this to make sure that the generations behind us, no one can come back. We can build a foundation so solid that no one can come back and move this. And by us going through our genealogy and identifying with who we are through our bloodline, because that's all we can be. And that's why our surnames matter, because a lot of these surnames go back to royal bloodlines and empires and rulers and people who contributed a lot to America. And we reading about our family in these history books and not finding ourselves in the story because they're generalizing and they're not naming names. But that's not their fault, because we're going outside the home being taught this and institutionalized when we're given another story, or we can just go in the family cemetery and find out who we are. It's been here 200 years. So how can someone who just met me tell me who I am? All of those people. You are more, brother. They don't ask you. You a Hebrew. You from the 12 tribe. They don't ask you who you are. You're African. If you this color, then you're African. All of these are doctrines who came to give us an identity when we had already got one at home when we came to the age of understanding. And that was around 5-6 years old. We got those messages, even if we didn't understand it. Somewhere in our journey, no matter what we started at, today we understand and we hear those words clear as day, who we were.
All right, so before you go, who's your favorite rapper, man? I gotta find this out.
Tupac, Scarface, and DMX. That's my top three.
Oh, you got the X-Man. X gonna give it to you, my man. I love me some X. How
Tupac, Scarface, and
any
DMX.
final thoughts? You want? I'm gonna give you the screen. Tell them what you.
All right. So one thing, we haven't. Man, I'm a independent researcher. You know, I travel, do work. I'm a lecturer. I have hundreds of lectures. My highest lecture is 960 slides, all sourced up, all on American history. And it goes so in depth. That's why they're so long. 700 slides, 800 slides, lectures, 600. And I know I broke probably Guinness. I can get into the Guinness World Record probably. But I'm also an author. I wrote 6 books, or authored 6 books. 2 of them being children books. You can find them on I'm Not Black, I'm Indian, Miseducation of. Okay, I had them ready. I say, man, I'm gonna be ready, folks. They're in the house. But my website is bigchiefuniversity.com. I do want to say this. On 11/22, November 22, we have what's called FAID, FAID, Foundation American Indigenous Day. So we travel as a group as well. So we've done, this is gonna be our 19th group trip together. All of these mounds that you show, OG, the pyramids and all of those, we've been going as a group for the last 3 years. And we're going on our 19th group tour this year. So now we're opening it up to the public. Went on Stone Mountain this year. I don't know, did you get to see that footage? Us at Stone Mountain?
No, sir, but I've been there. I was in Georgia in 83.
Can you pull it up? Can you pull it up?
Stone Mountain, yeah.
Yeah, go to my page and it's gonna be, what is it gonna say? American Indian Greatness. This is just 1 minute. No music in it or nothing. So yeah, this is a little bit of what we do. We did pyramid tours. We've been on 2 international tours, and we just trying to find people who walking that journey who are looking for themselves in the story. I think the most powerful thing you can get someone is knowledge of self. Now they tell us knowledge of self was the knowing the history of the world or ancient history, when it's not fitting or helping for the day that we in today. Can't do nothing for us. We have to create something that fits for the world we living in. We just they tried to unallow the president yesterday. They unallowed another political figure who was big with the youth, and there's a lot of controversy around that. And so these type of things like this here, I want us to understand that no one's coming to save us. And that, you know, unity is something that we need. So when OG, you found the video? It's called it should be me on the front. If you go to videos, go to my channel videos, and it's American Indian Greatness. This is our land.
Bear with me a second. I got
no problem.
Side.
I'll talk to them. Make sure y'all hit the like button out there, and make sure y'all support OG show, Brother Donnie G show. All the hard work he been putting in for all of these years. And
share screen.
I gotta come back because next time I come back, I'm sharing my screen. We going through some information. Yeah, we're gonna come and go through some hardcore facts. You know, I know you've been bringing a lot of indigenous people on, but we want to bring some. We want to answer those hard questions. We want the hard questions. We want the misunderstandings. We want to make those things clear, keen, so we don't even have to deal with them no more. You know, because a lot of things can very easily be proved. And yeah, so I you know, this was just a introduction.
It's a warm up, but
yeah, there you go.
I like your spirit. See, wherever you go, whether it's New Orleans, Brooklyn, New York, the Middle East, the Gaza Strip, it's the spirit, and your spirit has been kind. You've been willing, and that's what I think. If somebody willing to learn, then teach them. And you have
right. And my favorite part of the day is Q&A. Yeah, a lot of people, they run from it. I'm gonna drop the lectures. I'm gonna write the books, and I'm gonna stand there and answer every question. I want y'all to ask me questions because I know what I'm talking about. And I have debt, and I've done the research. I've done the work, you know, and I paid a lot of money. You know, ain't nobody pay for them tickets. It ain't cheap to travel the world. That ain't cheap at all. And then, you know, I like to stay in nice places. So,
how did you know you were on to something? When did it hit you?
Ooh. Because I retired like 3 times. I only been here 4.5, 5 years. So I retired 3 times. When I felt that it would have had to been after we started meeting up in 2022, because I was iffy about staying. My passion was in it, but the infighting, it wasn't any unity in it, and so I left the street game, because I ain't want to die with a broken heart. And then I come here and it's the same behavior patterns, and I'm saying I'm too valuable, and my time is too. I'm taking away from time on things I could be putting my energy in. If this is what it's gonna be, because I didn't come here for that. You know, we came here to reach the people and be on a higher vibration and understanding, because that's what it's gonna take. Because we got everyone against us, especially as an Indian at that time. And when I seen nobody wanted to fight, it was a day everybody was like, I'm gone, I'm leaving. And I was there, OG, and I said, damn, everybody left. I'm in here by myself. I'm like, I can't leave. I ain't got nowhere to go. So no matter how big, no matter how many letters behind their name, no matter who come around their corner and they want some smoke about the Indian topic, they was gonna have to go through me. And so
Did you come across this guy, Chief John Horse, down in Florida?
Yeah. Shout out to Chief John Horse, Juan Caballo. Yeah,
Juan Caballo, that's my hero. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay. My kinfolk ran with him, William Powell. They call him Osceola. That's my eighth ancestor. Yeah, it's my 8th ancestor. Yeah, I've been down to Florida. I went down there, Alligator Alley. I went down to the Cypress, Big Cypress, the reservation. I went to Fort Moultrie in South Carolina to his grave site in front of the fort. Yeah, Osceola, my 8th ancestor out of Alabama. My migrated from Alabama to Texas.
So they tell me that Texas, we know about Tulsa, 70 to 80 black towns, never talked about. But
Right.
East Texas, I just need you, this is the last question. East Texas had 500 black towns. Is that so?
East Texas, that's one. I'm an East Texas Indian, heart and soul, you know. Yeah, East Texas was where it's a part of the Mississippian Empire as well. We have mounds here too, which are the cattle mounds. And cattle mounds, we have agriculture. Our agriculture is crazy. We have the best cattle down here. The first cowboys come from down here in the Houston area down here. We were the ones that led the cattle drives. Yeah, Pecos, Texas, where the rodeos begin. Yeah, we were those wild Indians on horseback. East Texas, the food culture. We eat the soul food. We eat the seafood. We brought together blues and created Zydeco with the blues. Music called Zydeco. East Texas, the towns there, a lot of them are impoverished today or low populations because, like me, I'm second generation from the country, but my family still have a lot of land out there. I'm talking about like 100, 150 acres, 200 acres on this side, still going back from the 1800s. But so that's why I'm still country like this, because my mom, they went back and forth from the country in the summer, but I was raised in the city in Texas. So I'm like a third, 1.5 generation city boy outside of the country, East Texas. Yeah.
Ain't nothing wrong with being from the country. Baltimore is in Maryland. Maryland is technically the South.
Yeah, they call it the South. Yeah. Y'all in the Mason-Dixie. And yeah, with the country, now I had no problem with it because country culture has woke up the world. You know, Beyonce got all the women out here with the cowgirl hats and the boots and all of that. But when the country, the Southern soul music came in and the line dances and that was different. That took over even Beyonce buzz. We hearing people that don't even have a name. We never heard of them coming out of small towns like Florence and backwoods in South Carolina. And they playing this music and the people are feeling it and dancing. The kids are dancing to it. The elders. It's something that we all can relate to because that's their soul. That's what we all have in common. And that's what we all came together. A lot of us fought plenty wars together. A lot of us was forced to amalgamate into Confederates and to protect and maintain our moral principles. We wanted our land. We were going to protect our families, our land. We were going to protect our families, our assets, and we were willing to give our lives. And we see a lot of our family fought in the war. I have 5 fifth great grandfathers fought in the Civil War. Nancy Shiffley Hanks, Abraham Lincoln grandma is my grandma as well. So yeah, these type of things. My family being the chief down in the Texas Revolution at that time, which is noted in Commerce County, Shepherd County, and and even on the site of the Indian website, these types of things. But I'm an East Texas Indian. And you say you coming down? You gonna see if you can come down November?
Man, I'm coming through that November 22nd. I got to come. I got to bring you a Black Wall Street Award if you won't be offended. We got to bring it. Man. I am proud of you. Thank you for taking this show to another level. Thank you for being a human being. But also thank you for teaching us about our indigenous, autochthonous, natural roots.
Appreciate you, OG, and I'm here for you anytime. Just give me, I'm 1 phone call away.
Yes, sir. Thank you, big brother.
All right, thank you.
Good evening, world.